My brother slept with my girlfriend in my own apartment. Then they laughed, kicked me out, stole everything, and acted like I was the villain. So, I exposed their dirty secrets and turned the tables in a way no one saw coming. Alright, I understand. You'd like me to take the script you've provided and give it another pass, focusing on rephrasing with new vocabulary while maintaining the same general length. I'll make sure to avoid any bold text. Here's a revised version of your script. My brother and my girlfriend, right there in my apartment, shared a laugh. Then they kicked me out and took everything. So, I revealed a truth nobody saw coming. I, a 31-year-old man, always felt overshadowed by my older brother, Sam, who is 34. For as long as I could recall, Sam was the flawless child in our parents' eyes. If you've ever been the less favored sibling, you know that pervasive feeling. It's not just feeling less cherished. It's that constant undercurrent of, you're not quite good enough, that seems to follow you everywhere. Our family wasn't wealthy, but we lived comfortably, a middle-class existence in a pleasant suburb. Dad was a construction foreman, and Mom worked as an elementary school secretary. Somehow, they managed to gather enough funds to put Sam through business school, while I had to take out loans for my graphic design degree. Your brother needs the support more than you do, Ryan. You're more self-sufficient, my mom would always say. Her words really meant, we have more faith in Sam's future than we do in yours. When I was 9, Sam broke my PlayStation, a gift from my uncle before he relocated overseas. This wasn't just any game console to me. It was genuinely the nicest possession I had, and my uncle was the sole adult who truly seemed to understand me. I'd saved my allowance for months to buy a specific racing game. Sam casually used it without permission and accidentally spilled his energy drink all over it while showing off to his friends. His excuse was, it was already acting up anyway. When I cried, being just 9, remember? My dad told me to be a man, and my mom accused me of being materialistic. The worst part? My parents made me contribute my birthday money to help purchase Sam a new phone the next month, claiming he needed it for school. Sam didn't even bother to say thanks. He just pocketed the cash as if it were rightfully his. At 13, I spent an entire summer cutting grass in 95-degree heat to buy a silver Mongoose BMX bike. Nothing flashy, but it was truly mine. Acquired with my own effort. Sam borrowed it 2 days later to impress a girl, then returned it a week later with damaged rims and a cracked frame. Dad simply shrugged and said, "Things get damaged, Ryan. Stop being so focused on possessions. Your brother has grander ambitions than you, so he's under more strain." Let me decode that for you, from parent speak. Sam's future held greater importance than yours, so his needs always came first. Without exception. High school proved even more frustrating. My first serious girlfriend, Amber, was this cool, artistic girl who genuinely appreciated me for who I was. She had striking blue streaks in her hair and created incredible sketches. I brought her home for dinner once, and Sam couldn't stop staring at her with that predatory gaze. You know, the one where a guy isn't looking at a person but rather at a conquest. 3 weeks later, I found them kissing in his car. His justification? "She wasn't that into you anyway, bro. Just doing you a favor." He actually smirked while uttering this. My parents suggested that perhaps I didn't know how to keep a girl interested and told me to learn from your brother. Mom actually stated, "Well, Amber seems content with Sam now, so perhaps it's for the best." Fantastic. Thanks for the encouragement. I wasn't the smartest, strongest, or most popular kid, but I wasn't a failure either. I was on the track team, not the star, but I had a respectable 800-meter time. I maintained a 3.4 GPA and had my own circle of friends. I simply existed in this peculiar middle ground where nothing I accomplished was quite satisfactory because Sam had already done it better somehow. Captain of the football team? Check. Class president? Check. Dated the prom queen? Check. My entire childhood was filled with hearing, "Why can't you be more like your brother?" Until I started to believe they might be right. After college, I moved 40 miles away to create some distance. Not so far that my parents could still burden me with guilt about abandoning the family, though they certainly tried, but far enough that I didn't have to see them every week. I secured a decent position at a marketing agency doing graphic design, starting at $43,000. It wasn't exceptional, but it was enough to cover my expenses and gradually reduce my student loans. I rented a small but comfortable one-bedroom place in West Side Heights. Nothing extravagant, just beige walls and generic carpet, but it was truly mine, my own sanctuary. It was the first place I'd ever had where Sam couldn't simply walk in and take whatever he desired. I decorated it with my own artwork and some vintage movie posters I'd collected. It wasn't much, but it felt like home. I maintained minimal contact with my family, birthdays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Every visit followed the same pattern. Sam would boast about his latest promotion at Jackson Financial Services, where he worked as an investment advisor. My parents would hang on his every word as if he were dispensing profound wisdom, and I'd sit there like a piece of furniture. "Ryan, did you hear about Sam's bonus this year? Why don't you explore a job with greater growth potential?" Then I met Natalie at a coffee shop displaying local artists' work. I had some illustrations up, and she was examining them with this endearing head tilt and a subtle smile that I later realized I absolutely adored. She had captivating hazel eyes that shifted color depending on the light and a laugh that made everyone around her want to join in. "These are really well done," she commented, gesturing to my series of urban landscape illustrations. "The perspective on this one truly makes me feel like I'm standing right there." We started talking, then spending time together, then dating. For the first time in my life, I felt like someone genuinely saw me, not just as Sam's younger brother. Natalie was incredibly intelligent, working as a paralegal at Howard and Mitchell Law. She was humorous and appreciated the aspects of me that my family considered flaws. "You're sensitive in a good way, Ryan," she'd tell me. "You notice details others miss. That's what makes your art so compelling." When she said it, I actually believed her. We dated for 2 years, moving in together after the first year, sharing the rent on a nicer 2-bedroom apartment in Parkview Commons. She encouraged me to start freelancing on the side, building a client portfolio beyond my full-time job. For once in my life, I had something genuine that was truly mine, something Sam couldn't reach. Or so I thought. It was a Tuesday in October, when everything went completely wrong. We'd been having some disagreements about money lately. I wanted to save for a house down payment. She wanted to renovate the kitchen. Typical couple discussions. So, I decided to surprise her by leaving work early, the first time I'd ever done that. I planned to pick up ingredients for her favorite pesto pasta dish and prepare a special dinner. I opened our apartment door and instantly recognized that something was amiss. There were 2 water glasses on the coffee table, men's shoes by the entrance that weren't mine, expensive-looking loafers I'd never be able to afford. And then I heard it. Natalie's laughter coming from our bedroom, along with a voice I'd know anywhere. My stomach plunged as if I were on a roller coaster, that awful, sinking feeling where your insides liquefy. I walked to the bedroom doorway and just stood there, trying to comprehend what I was seeing. Sam was sprawled across our bed in his fancy suit pants and unbuttoned dress shirt, drinking what appeared to be the $90 bottle of sparkling cider I'd been saving for our anniversary. Natalie was wearing just her underwear and one of my t-shirts, her makeup smudged in that telling way. When they noticed me, Sam didn't even look surprised. He just smiled, that arrogant smile I'd witnessed my whole life, the one that declared, "I've won again." "Well, look who's home early," he remarked, taking another sip of my special occasion cider. "The diligent worker returns to the hive." Natalie looked startled for perhaps 2 seconds before her face transformed into an expression I'd never seen before. A sneer of disdain, disgust, as if she were mortified to have ever been associated with me. "You weren't supposed to be home until 6 o'clock, she stated, as if I were the one who'd committed a transgression, as if my coming home to my own apartment was an inconvenience to them. Sam rose and walked over, putting his arm around my shoulder as if we were close friends. His Rolex, a $12,000 watch I'd heard him boast about, glinted on his wrist. "Ryan, buddy, don't look so shocked. We're actually doing you a favor here." "A favor?" I managed to articulate through clenched teeth. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the effort of holding myself back from striking his perfect teeth. Yeah, man. Natalie needs someone who can actually provide for her, not some guy who's still trying to make it as an artist at 31. He leaned in close, his breath carrying the scent of mint and arrogance, and said just loud enough for Natalie to hear, "Face it, you've always been second best. Nat needs a true man, not whatever you are. Tonight, I'll show her what she's been missing." What truly crushed me wasn't even Sam's words. It was witnessing Natalie's reaction. She laughed. A cruel, mocking laugh I'd never heard from her before. Then she walked to the closet and started flinging my clothes onto the floor as if they were refuse. "I've been settling this entire time," she declared, tossing my favorite design portfolio onto the heap, the one with all my original drawings, some of which I'd created for her. "Your brother earns 3 times what you do and doesn't complain about artistic integrity when I mention wanting nice things." She picked up the framed photo of us from our first vacation together and deliberately dropped it. The glass shattered with a sound that seemed to echo in my chest. 2 years of my life wasted on a guy who can't even ask for a pay raise," she continued. Each word felt like a knife. Meanwhile, Sam just closed a deal worth more than you'll make in 5 years. I just stood there like an idiot, watching 2 years of what I thought was love being torn to shreds in front of me. Sam grabbed her by the waist and kissed her neck while staring directly at me, making sure I witnessed every second. "Get your belongings and go, little brother. We have plans for this apartment that don't involve you." I don't even remember packing. I just grabbed whatever I could fit into my backpack, some clothes, my laptop, my external hard drive with my design work, and the small box of family photos I kept. I left behind 2 years of my life. Furniture I'd saved for, books I loved, everything too large to carry. It was raining, naturally, and I walked 6 blocks before I even considered where I was headed. My phone buzzed with a text from Sam. "Left some of your junk in the hallway. Anything still there tomorrow goes in the dumpster. Thanks for softening up Natalie for me." I ended up staying at my friend Dave's place. His apartment was barely large enough for one person, a studio with a small kitchen area and a bathroom where you couldn't fully extend your arms, but he cleared space on his couch and didn't ask too many questions at first. He just offered me a soda and said, "Whenever you're ready to talk, man." 3 sodas later, I recounted everything. He just listened, occasionally remarking, "That's messed up," or "What a jerk," which was precisely what I needed. No advice, no look on the bright side, just acknowledgement that I'd been thoroughly wronged. "Your brother's always been a jerk," Dave finally concluded, "but this is beyond belief, like sociopathic behavior." A week into my couch surfing, Dave showed me something on his phone. "You probably shouldn't look at this, but you need to know." It was an Instagram post from Natalie, showing her and Sam at the same restaurant where I took her for our 2-year anniversary, the one I had to save for 3 months to afford. She was wearing a watch I'd been saving up for months to buy her. The caption read, "Upgraded to the better brother. Leveling up. Never settling." The comments were even worse. Mutual friends asked what happened, and Natalie responded with nonsense like, "Finally realized I deserve better, and some men are boys, and some are true men." Sam commented, "Thanks for the hand-me-down," and she replied, "Hardly used and easily upgraded." They were talking about me, as if I were a used car they'd traded in. Everyone's been asking me what happened. I confided in Dave that night, staring at the ceiling. Friends, coworkers, everyone. What am I supposed to say? My brother stole my girlfriend because he's always taken everything I've ever cared about. Say nothing, Dave advised, tossing me an extra blanket. Let them expose themselves for the trash they are. Easier said than done. I felt like I was walking around with my skin stripped away. Everything ached. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, losing 11 pounds in 2 weeks. My boss called me into his office to inquire if everything was all right because my work performance was declining. 2 weeks later, my mom called. "We're having a family dinner on Sunday. Your attendance is expected." I tried to offer an excuse, but she cut me off. "Ryan, this is crucial. Family stands together no matter what. Sam mentioned you two had a disagreement, but it's time to act like adults." A disagreement? Is that what he called sleeping with Natalie in my bed? Mom, he slept with Natalie in our apartment while we were still together. I stated, waiting for her shock, her outrage on my behalf. There was a pause. Well, these things occur, Ryan. Natalie probably realized she and Sam have more in common. You'll eventually find someone more on your level. I almost hurled my phone across the room. Against my better judgment, I went to the dinner. The masochist in me needed to see how far this would go. The dinner was precisely what I anticipated. Mom doting on Sam, Dad nodding approvingly at everything he said, and Natalie sitting there wearing a necklace I'm fairly certain cost more than my monthly rent. I just pushed food around my plate while they all pretended everything was normal. "We have some exciting news," my mom announced, practically vibrating with enthusiasm. "Sam and Natalie are moving into the Oak Ridge condos." I nearly choked. Oak Ridge was the exact development I'd been saving for, telling Natalie about for months. The place I'd planned to propose to her once I had enough for a down payment. "Got a fantastic deal, too," Sam added with that smirk that made me want to stab him with my fork. "Only $450,000 for the corner unit with the balcony. You know, the one you showed us in that brochure. Closed the deal yesterday." I felt my mom's hand on my shoulder, her nails digging in slightly. "Isn't it wonderful? Your brother is finally settling down with a respectable woman. You should be happy for him instead of being constantly envious." I looked at my dad, hoping for, I don't know, something. He just gave me that disappointed look and said, "Your brother works hard for what he desires. Perhaps you should take notes." As if Sam had ever worked hard for anything in his life. "How's the sofa at Dave's?" Sam inquired, cutting into a steak. "Heard it's a bit lumpy. Maybe you should have worked harder to keep your apartment and your girl." He winked at Natalie, who giggled as if he'd uttered something charming instead of being a complete jerk. I endured dinner somehow. When I left, my mom hugged Natalie longer than she hugged me. After dinner, I needed a moment alone before driving back to Dave's, so I went to my dad's office to compose myself. I sat in his old leather chair, the one he'd had since I was a child, and tried to stop my hands from trembling. I accidentally nudged the mouse, waking up his computer. The screen displayed several open email tabs. My dad was always terrible about logging out, something I'd cautioned him about countless times. I was about to walk away when a subject line caught my eye: Compliance Review Q3 Advisory Accounts. I shouldn't have read it, but after everything that happened, something compelled me to sit down and examine it more closely. I clicked on the email and saw it was a chain between Sam and someone named Linda Blackwell from the compliance department. Nothing overtly suspicious at first, just typical corporate jargon about quarterly reviews and documentation requirements. But something in Sam's dismissive responses felt off. I delved deeper, clicking through other emails in my dad's inbox. Dad was disorganized. He never deleted anything and had thousands of messages. I found another email thread where Sam had sent my dad some documents to print because the office printer was down. Those documents were client account statements, but there was something odd about them. I'd done enough design work to notice inconsistencies in formatting, margins that didn't align, font sizes that varied slightly between pages, small details most people wouldn't catch. I kept investigating, found more emails, more inconsistencies. Then I struck gold. An email from Sam to himself, but inadvertently carbon copied to my dad, with two attachments: William's ACCT official PDF and William's actual PDF. I opened them side by side. Same client, same account number, same date, completely different balances. The official one showed a balance of $478,952. The actual one showed $116,283. Holy hell. I spent the next hour sifting through more emails. A pattern began to emerge. Sam was siphoning funds from client accounts. Not massive withdrawals that would trigger alarms, but consistent management fees and rebalancing transfers that gradually depleted accounts. He was targeting older clients who might not closely monitor their accounts or fully grasp the complex statements. From what I could piece together, Sam would present clients with doctored statements showing inflated balances while the actual accounts were being steadily drained. The compliance department was starting to ask questions, but Sam had been concealing his tracks with forged authorization forms and deliberately convoluted transaction histories. I sat there staring at the screen, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to simply walk away. The other part was searching for something. Ryan. I nearly leaped out of my skin. Natalie was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, observing me. Just needed some privacy, I mumbled, quickly closing the email tabs. She gave me this feigned look of concern. You know, Ryan, this is why we didn't work out. You always needed space instead of confronting reality. She moved closer. Sam takes what he desires. That's why he's accomplished. And you're, well, you. As she walked away, I heard her murmur under her breath, pathetic. That night, sleep eluded me. I kept thinking about those emails, about all those elderly individuals Sam was stealing from. People who had worked their entire lives for that money, who had entrusted him with their retirement savings. I thought about how Sam had always taken what was mine. But this was different. This was criminal. 3 days later, I received an unexpected visitor at Dave's apartment, a woman named Jessica, who introduced herself as a coworker of Natalie's from the law firm. I've been contemplating whether to come here, she said nervously, perched on the edge of Dave's couch. But you deserve to know. What she told me altered everything. Sam and Natalie hadn't just randomly connected. They'd been seeing each other for 7 months behind my back. All those late nights at work Natalie claimed to have, she was with Sam. Those networking events she said she needed to attend? Dates with my brother. She'd come to the office bragging about dating 2 brothers, Jessica explained, looking disgusted. Showing off the gifts Sam bought her. She said you were merely convenient. A stepping stone until something superior came along. And Sam? I inquired, already knowing the answer. He's worse. I overheard him on the phone once, laughing about how effortlessly he took your girlfriend. Said something about it being a long-standing tradition to take whatever you possess, that you'd never challenge him because you never had before. I thanked her for sharing this, but oddly, I no longer felt that sharp pain. Just crystal clear understanding. Why are you telling me this? I asked her. Jessica hesitated. Because last week, Natalie persuaded my grandmother to move her retirement account to Sam. Said he could double her returns. My grandmother has dementia. She doesn't comprehend what she's signing. That was the moment something inside me solidified. This wasn't just about me anymore. The following weekend, I returned to my parents' home with the pretense of collecting some documents I needed for a new apartment application. The house was empty except for Sam, who was on the phone in the kitchen. He didn't hear me enter because he was too absorbed in boasting. Easiest con I've ever pulled, he was saying, reclining in his designer jeans while scrolling through his phone. These elderly people don't even verify their statements properly. By the time anyone notices, I'll be residing in the Caymans. There was a pause as the person on the other end spoke. Nah, the firm suspects nothing. Linda's getting closer, but I've got another $500,000 transfer scheduled for next week. Then I'm gone. Got the offshore accounts all arranged. Another pause. Natalie, she's just another prize. Once I finalize this Deutsche Bank deal, I'll have my pick of women. She's attractive, but incredibly demanding. Keeps talking about a ring as if I'm actually going to marry her. He chuckled at whatever response he received. My little brother. That pathetic loser. Typical Ryan. Always getting the scraps. It's been like that since we were kids. Mom and Dad still view him as a disappointment, you know, always wondering why he can't be more like me. Hilarious. I left without making a sound, my heart pounding in my chest, but I didn't leave immediately. I had a strategy, one that had been forming since I first saw those emails. I waited in my car down the street until Sam departed for his tennis game, then went back inside. Instead of confronting him or informing my parents, I headed directly to my dad's office with a USB drive. I copied every incriminating email, every fraudulent report, every document that precisely detailed what Sam was doing. I also took photos of account statements showing how he'd been stealing from elderly clients for years. Names, dates, amounts, everything a prosecutor would require. While copying the files, I discovered an old family photo in the drawer. Sam and I building a sandcastle at the beach when I was perhaps 5. Likely the last time he hadn't been a complete jerk to me. I gazed at it for a moment, then returned it. On my way out, I copied my parents' financial documents. 2. Just a hunch. What I uncovered made my blood run cold. Sam had convinced them to invest their entire retirement fund, $340,000, into his special client portfolio, the very same fraudulent fund he was using to steal from his clients. My own parents were his victims as well. That night, I didn't just get drunk, as you might expect. Instead, I meticulously planned. This wasn't going to be some petty retaliation. Sam had spent his entire life taking everything from me and harming people who trusted him. It was time for accountability. I spent the next week organizing the evidence. I created spreadsheets tracking every fraudulent transaction, documented the timeline of Sam's scheme, and even found proof that he'd forged signatures on withdrawal forms. "Dude, are you sure about this?" Dave asked one night, watching me work. "This is serious stuff, like federal crimes serious." "He stole from elderly people with dementia," I replied without looking up. "He stole from our parents. He's been stealing from me my entire life. Someone has to stop him." Dave nodded slowly. "Just be careful, man. Sam has always found a way to come out on top, usually at your expense." "Not this time," I promised. I didn't rush. Effective revenge requires patience. And I've been patient my entire life. First, I spent 2 weeks absorbing everything I could about financial fraud, SEC whistleblower protocols, and how investment firms manage compliance issues. I needed to be systematic. After all, Sam was the golden child. He'd always found a way to avoid trouble if I wasn't careful. Step 1. Evidence gathering. I bought a new laptop with cash from a large retail store 2 towns away, created a new email using public Wi-Fi at a library I'd never visited before, and used a VPN. I wasn't taking any chances. Step 2. Documentation. I didn't simply dump a collection of emails into a folder. I created a detailed analysis revealing a pattern of unauthorized fees across 18 different client accounts, a timeline of withdrawals corresponding with Sam's significant purchases, a comparison of the doctored statements versus genuine statements, a list of forged client signatures. I discovered instances where he didn't even attempt to make them appear authentic, and evidence that he was specifically targeting elderly clients, especially those with cognitive decline. The total amount was around $780,000. Not millions, but still a federal offense. The strength lay in the details and the consistent pattern, not some single, massive heist. Step 3. Strategic dissemination. I didn't send it directly to Jackson Financial. That would have been too obvious. Instead, I assembled 3 separate packages with slightly different information. Package 1 went to Linda Blackwell, the compliance officer, who was already suspicious. It included only client statements and transaction records, information she would have access to anyway, but arranged to emphasize the pattern. No personal connection to Sam. Package 2 went to the State Financial Regulatory Board. It included evidence of forged signatures and unauthorized transfers, plus a timeline linking withdrawals to Sam's purchases: the new car, the Rolex, the down payment on the condo. Package 3 went to the SEC Enforcement Division. It included everything, plus evidence that Sam was planning to leave the country. I'd found emails about a business opportunity in a non-extradition country scheduled for the following month. Each package came with a different cover letter, different formatting, and a slightly varied focus, making it impossible to determine they originated from the same source. Then I waited, checking financial industry news daily. 17 days later, while sitting in a coffee shop 60 miles from my hometown, I received a text from Dave. "Dude, check the news right now." The headline read, "Local financial advisor charged in elaborate client fraud scheme." There was Sam's arrogant face in the article photo, looking considerably less arrogant as he was being led away in handcuffs. According to the article, authorities had received an anonymous tip with extensive documentation of his fraud. The firm had frozen all related accounts and was cooperating with investigators. Sam was being held on $1 million bail. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not joy, just a strange emptiness, like I'd finally set down a heavy burden I'd been carrying my whole life. The true satisfaction came later that day when my phone exploded with calls and texts. First was Natalie. "Did you have anything to do with this?" They froze all of Sam's accounts. All of them. The condo deal fell through. I need to speak with you immediately. I didn't reply. Next was my mom. Ryan, this is terrible. Your brother has been arrested for some misunderstanding at work. You need to come home right away. Family supports family during a crisis. I texted back, is it truly a misunderstanding when he stole $2.3 million? Her response was immediate. How do you know that number? What did you do? My dad's message was more direct. Your brother says you took documents from my computer and sent them to his company. If that's accurate, you've betrayed this family. He could go to prison. I replied, did he tell you he stole your retirement money, too? Check your investment statements. Radio silence for 3 hours. Then a call from my dad that I let go to voicemail. His voice sounded shattered in a way I'd never heard before. Ryan, you were right. The accounts are empty. Everything we saved, gone. Your mother is devastated. Please call us back. I didn't. Not then. I needed time to process everything. I started searching for a new job far away from all of them. I found a small apartment and paid 3 months' rent in advance using my emergency savings. I was done with that chapter of my life. A week later, my parents appeared at Dave's apartment. Someone at the bank had told them where I worked, and they tracked me down. My mom looked like she'd aged 10 years. My dad couldn't even meet my gaze. Can we talk? My mom asked, her voice lacking that judgmental tone for the first time in my life. I let them in. They sat on Dave's lumpy couch, looking small and defeated. The house is being seized, my dad stated flatly. Part of the asset recovery for the people he stole from. We have nowhere to go. Sam told the investigators you stole the documents, my mom added. He's trying to claim you framed him because you were jealous. I laughed. Actually laughed. And you believe that? They exchanged glances. We don't know what to believe anymore, my dad conceded. Everything we thought we knew. Sam has been stealing from you for years, I said. Not just your retirement. Remember that loan for his first car? The money for his business trip to Vegas? The cash that went missing from your anniversary fund? All Sam. My mom began to cry, not her usual manipulative tears, but genuine, broken sobs. We need your assistance, Ryan. My dad pleaded, swallowing his pride with visible difficulty. We have nowhere else to turn. I sat back and looked at them. Truly looked at them. These people who had favored Sam over me my entire life, who had dismissed and minimized me at every turn, who were only here because they needed something. Remember when I was 16 and wanted to attend that summer art program, the one that cost $1,200, and you said you couldn't afford it? Then 2 weeks later, you bought Sam a $3,500 motorcycle because he needed transportation. They both looked away. Or when I graduated college and you skipped my ceremony because Sam had a golf tournament the same weekend. We made mistakes, my mom whispered. No, you made choices, I corrected her, consistently for decades. And now you're facing the repercussions of those choices. I stood up. I'm not going to testify against Sam. The evidence speaks for itself, but I'm not going to help him either. Then help us, my dad pleaded. We're your parents. I took a deep breath. I'll help you find a temporary place to stay. I'll help you apply for benefits since you're now technically victims of fraud, but I won't give you money, and I won't pretend the past didn't happen. As they were leaving, my mom turned back. Natalie's been calling us constantly. She's pregnant, says it's Sam's. Of course she was. Perfect timing. 2 days later, Natalie appeared at my workplace. Her designer clothes were replaced with a simple dress. Her makeup subtle instead of flashy. The classic damsel in distress facade. Ryan, please, she said, eyes welling with tears. I made a terrible mistake. Sam is a monster. He lied to me about everything. Like you lied to me for 7 months, I replied calmly. Her eyes widened. You knew. Not at the time. Found out later. I'm pregnant, she said, placing her hand dramatically on her stomach. I need help. Sam's assets are frozen. His parents are broke. You're the only one I can turn to. I looked at her. Truly looked at her. The woman I'd once thought I'd marry, now a stranger who'd helped dismantle my life. There's a women's resource center on 7th Street, I said, writing the address on a post-it note. They can assist with housing and prenatal care. The legal aid office can help you file for child support against Sam's future earnings. She stared at the note, then back at me. That's it? That's all you're offering after everything we had? After everything you discarded? I corrected her. You made your decision, Natalie. You chose the better brother, remember? The real man. How's that working out for you? Her face contorted with fury. You'll regret this. You'll end up alone and miserable like you've always been. I shrugged. Perhaps, but I'd rather be alone than with someone who sees me as a means to an end. As she turned to leave, she hissed, "This baby is your nephew or niece. Don't you care about family?" That hit harder than I expected. I did care, but I also knew what was coming.